When things go wrong as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the debts are high, and you want to smile but you have to sigh, when care is pressing you down a bit, rest if you must but do not ever quit. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and clear the clouds of doubt.
Physical fitna, not physical fitness, rather physical fitna on campus, on all campuses and universities all around the world, including in the Muslim world. This is our topic for today. You guys, thank you for tuning in to Let's Talk, your favorite program, of course, on your favorite channel, Huda TV, which is without doubt the premier and pioneer English language Islamic channel. Having said that, let me introduce our topic just a bit. This topic was introduced to me by my Syrian friend. May Allah bless him. It's a great topic. Physical fitna on campus. How many students, may I ask you, dear viewers, do you know? Perhaps they were pious young adults, pious, righteous, upright young Muslims, male and female, who were interested in practicing the deen. Perhaps they were students of knowledge even, regularly attending lectures and lessons in the mosque and encouraging their family members and friends to do the same. Perhaps they were also focused on their studies and they were committed to being professionals in their field, whether it be in medicine to become a doctor, engineering, law to become a lawyer, or perhaps even English literature or any field for that matter. The point is they were dedicated to their work and to their deen. But the moment they first stepped foot on a university campus, the second they opened their door to their co-ed housing arrangement and discovered one roommate was an atheist and the other was a follower of some strange religion, a false religion, i.e. not Islam and not Muslim, this began to affect him or her. How many do you know, my dear my viewers, Muslim females, for example, before college they were dressing modestly. Then when they got to college, they felt the pressures of society to blend in, to get married, and began wearing perfume and makeup and mixed in with the boys. How many boys do you know? They were young men focused on their deen and on their studies. Rather, now they go to the gym, they're interested in parties where alcohol is being consumed, they're interested in working out all day, not focusing on Islam or their studies. This is a big problem that we would like to address. If you're planning on going to college soon, we would like to offer you guys some preventative measures in order to prevent this from happening. If you're already in college, this is also the episode for you. We're going to give you an action plan to take in order to stop this from happening. If you've fallen into these traps as well, perhaps we can give you some means to rectify the situation, because of course it's never too late to change and to make repentance and get out of these bad habits. Having said that, that's the topic today. You guys know the contact information. Please give me a call, give me an email, support us on Facebook. You guys know the Skype as well. All that should appear on the bottom of your screen. Now, I know I talk too much. Let me introduce our special and respected and distinguished guest all the way from the United States via a couple different states. The first brother, he's a student of knowledge, an American revert to Islam, who has experiences living here now in the Middle East, and give us some compare and contrast, some experiences in both worlds, the Western world as well as here in the Islamic world. Our dear brother Abu Abdul Rahman Muhammad, as well as a student here in Cairo from the Canadian University, originally from Queens, New York, via Pennsylvania, I believe. I'm so happy to have him as well, Brother Rami Hisham. Assalamu alaikum to you both. You guys, I certainly appreciate your time and you being here today, inshallah. I hope you guys can shed some light on this and talk about your experiences living in the Western world, being on university campuses, and seeing how that affects any young person, really, and what we can do about that. Of course, we have our studio audience as well. Thank you guys for being here as well. Perhaps you can introduce yourselves, briefly tell us where you're from.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
I'm from Egypt.
Thank you, brother, for your time. So he's a regular Let's Talk. Thank you. I'm looking forward to your comments this time because you always have good comments. I hope you prepared some Quran and Hadith because you always bring the good stuff for us. Inshallah. Thank you. Thank you, brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
I'm Nabil from Egypt also.
Thank you, brother. Thank you, brother Nabil. Thank you for your time.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, brother. Thank you for calling.
I'm Omar from Egypt.
Thank you, brother Omar. I certainly appreciate it.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam, brother.
I'm Abdurrahman from Egypt.
Thank you, Abdurrahman.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi.
My name is Hussam Eddin Alam. I'm a senior student at the Faculty of Islamic Sharia and Law English at Al Azhar University, the 5th year. And
so what about Azhar University, brother? I want you to shed some light on this. What about the campus? Before the episode, you told me a little bit about the campus. Maybe you can share with our guests here and the viewers at home.
Yes, I believe it to be a perfect environment for seeking knowledge. because in Al-Azhar University...
Regarding the gender separation.
Yes, there is a separation between the male students and the female students.
What do you mean by that? On separate campuses altogether?
Yes, the sisters have their own campus, and when it comes to us, the boys, we have our own campus and we have our own buildings.
Okay, excellent.
But the curricula are the same and the teaching staff are the same. But when it comes to mixing, there is no mixing whatsoever.
And how do you feel about that?
I feel
do you think it helps you academically?
Yes, because I'm there to focus on my studies and nothing else.
Yeah, of course.
And also when it comes to asking questions with our professors, we feel free and we don't have to be shy or
yeah, great point.
So it's a perfect environment actually for seeking knowledge. And this is why I believe many voices now in predominantly non-Muslim countries are calling for this.
I want you to, after we're going to watch this report, I want you to back up that statement because I haven't heard that before.
Yeah.
I want you to tell me which universities are calling for that because I'd like to hear it. I think it's good, inshallah. You guys at home, stay tuned. We're going to check out this Facebook report put together by the good brothers in the channel. We posed this question online on Facebook, and we wanted to just look at the responses we got from you guys, so check it out.
Abdul Rahman says, Subhanallah, the fitna that is rapidly spreading in most of our colleges is the kind of indecent dresses worn by our girls. Mafabi says, yes, in our university they conducted lectures on the past Eid al-Adha. We Muslims, of course, didn't attend that day's lectures. Amal bin Abdullah says, I think mixed colleges and universities in which boys and girls study in the same place is the most important fitna. Khaled says, definitely girls, especially the ones whom wear the hijab in our college, as if they don't wear them at all. Zaid says, as a boy, the main fitna we suffer from university is the bad girls wearing seductive dress.
You guys, welcome back to Let's Talk. I hope you appreciate that Facebook, those Facebook comments. I thought they were interesting. Dear brothers, we had a lot of comments there, people talking about American students, or perhaps students here in the Middle East at these co-ed university, talking about it does create a big problem. Brother, what are your thoughts on that, the mixing at the university campuses?
It's a huge problem. Because, you know, men obviously are attracted to women, women are attracted to men. And from just my personal experiences, from the things that I've seen when I went to the universities in America, a lot of guys I knew couldn't make it to class. They couldn't focus on their studies. They were having all these, you know, women problems, and the women were having guy problems.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it was a big fitna,
right.
You know. One thing that I've noticed in the news a while back, like the brother said, quite a few of the schools now, especially with the smaller children, the people are now calling for a separation between the boys and the girls because of the problems that they are seeing even in the younger children, the younger kids. They're seeing these boy-girl issues. So now there's a few schools that I've heard are now calling for the separation of the boys and the girls. And the schools that have done that are finding that the test scores
go up.
Right, test scores go up. Doing homework, completing tasks, less play in the classrooms. You know, the boys like to try to impress the girls, and, you know, this type of thing. So a lot of that stuff, when they've separated the sexes, a lot of that stuff
goes away.
Yep, goes away.
SubhanAllah. Brother Rami, I know that you are a student at Canadian International University, I believe, based in Cairo.
No, it's actually the one here in October.
October, and it's International University?
No, it's the Haram Canadian University.
Okay, and you have students from all around the world, I imagine?
I believe
different genders. How big of a challenge is it, do you think, for undergraduates? I mean, how big, I mean, are we overreacting, or do you think it's just a big challenge?
No, I mean, in the beginning, maybe a few years back, I probably would have had a different answer. I'll be honest. I also went to the college in the States as well before I came to Egypt. And what I've noticed is actually, not with everybody per se, but with a lot of, I mean, what I've noticed at least, a lot of these, I mean, my brother's talking about people not making it to class sometimes. I mean, these people don't go to class.
Yeah, SubhanAllah. I know what you mean.
That's what it's gotten to. I mean, you come out, it's, you go to class, I mean, it's the same certain people. You see that people are actually dedicated to learning.
Right.
Then you have the rest, or the majority, is usually out on campus ground, you know, guys mingling with the girls and vice versa.
Right.
And they're not getting anything accomplished, but their sole purpose of coming to campus is to mingle,
Yeah,
as opposed to education, and that's what it's come to be.
And that actually happens even in high school. If we can even go before that in the States, high school is like that too. I mean, most people are falling to this problem as well. They're going to high school as a social gathering. Brother, let me go back to you, brother. Some people say, you know what, these segregated schools, they create psychological problems. Have you heard that before? People say, oh, if you never see a woman or you never see a man, it creates psychological problems, and these people turn out to have a lot of problems, and they have this suppressed kind of energy. What is your response to them?
I think that's totally false. You know, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that the men and the women are to be separated, that there is no free mixing, that it's haram to free mix. So, you know, when these people come up with these, you know, with these ideas, to me it's just from their desires.
Right.
These people are people of their desires. They want a free mix. They want everything that comes along with free mixing.
Right.
So they make excuses for...
they justify their own behavior by attacking the other guy.
To justify what they actually want to do from their desires.
I agree. I couldn't agree with you more.
I don't see where logically they would have a problem with that. What type of evidence can they produce to show that a person would have a psychological issue from being separated?
Right.
They're not separated, how do I want to word this, because of a dislike.
Right.
They're not segregated because I don't like them or they don't like us, but it's a modesty and a morality and trying to preserve your religion.
Right.
That, you know, is the reason why there's that separation.
There's a wisdom, subhanAllah, of course.
There's a wisdom, no doubt.
Brother, go ahead.
Yes, I'd like to further add what Brother Abu Abdurrahman mentioned. Actually, we are not saying that there must be a complete separation between men and women, but here we are talking about the educational environment. We are there to seek knowledge and to study, not to socialize and to make relations.
Yes,
so, but at the end of the day, she's your sister, she's your mother, she's your daughter. So it's not a blind separation. But when it comes to studying, we need to focus, and this is not the right place to socialize and to have both sexes together, because we know man by nature is weak, and this is what scientifically speaking, not just my own point of view. So I think there's no argument that can stand when it comes to why do you want to separate between boys and girls when it comes to seeking knowledge and the educational environment.
Yeah, of course, great point. Having said that, Brother Rami, look, we agreed that we shouldn't mix with men and women, with the exception of certain specific circumstances. Okay, of course there's exceptions. However, most of us at university campuses, perhaps some of the people watching at home, perhaps they live in the West, look, this is their reality. Okay, so how can they deal with that? What are some preventative steps a young Muslim could take before he steps foot on campus and says, look, I'm going to have to deal with women from different religions, different backgrounds, who have different ideas about what's appropriate. So what can I do as a Muslim to try to not let this have a negative effect on me? Well,
I mean, personally speaking, I mean, what I've tried to do, I mean, you just try to limit your interactions, but I mean, at the same time, you don't make it a point to be rude or I don't speak to women or I don't talk to you. I mean, if if a female does come up to you and interact, you interact with you try to interact with her with the utmost respect that you can possibly present in that particular situation. But I mean, as long as you can avoid it, then try to avoid it, because the fact is, temptation is everywhere.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
And I mean, what you might not be willing to do, others might be willing to do.
Yes, for sure.
And she might be willing to do.
Yeah,
so I mean, it's a matter of just self-preservation and taking that attention prior to entering school. Going to college here and there, I mean, it's difficult at times. I mean, I remember fasting during Ramadan. I'd have to, especially, when I started college, Ramadan was starting to begin in September. So, still the summer outfits are still out. So half the time I'm walking around campus with my head down and looking at the ground, So.
And by the way, you know what people always say? They always say, well, why are you looking at her? I said, come on, you guys, I have to walk. I mean, I try to, they say, don't look at her. So I'm walking, and people are in front of me. I have to.
I mean, you have to.
Yeah, all the time it's like difficult, subhanAllah, because you're always like this. So, but yeah, I see your point. I mean, that's very interesting. Brother, what do you think about that? I mean, that comment. What about preventative measures as a young Muslim? What can he or she do in order to protect himself?
I think the first thing that a Muslim can do is first arm himself with ilm, with knowledge, because you can't act upon what you don't know.
Right.
By studying the religion, studying the Quran, studying the Hadith, inshallah, studying with someone who's qualified to teach you, they can tell you why we want to separate between the mix, between the genders.
Right.
why it's important, what's the the punishment or the penalty for the free mixing and the bab that it opens, all the things that come along with that. So when you gain knowledge, you know why, and it gives you the armor that you need in order to repel all of these bombardments that we're hit with, every day. When I went to the university in the United States, I mean, it's a free-for-all.
Yes,
it's a free-for-all. I mean,
it's difficult. Yeah.
To avoid it is almost impossible. I was actually inspired by a really good friend of mine in the United States who recently acquired his master's degree in IT, but he did it online. It's the same degree, it's the same quality, it's the same from a prestigious university without all the fitna. So that's another option that the people can also look into, is to go to school online. He has to physically go to a campus to take tests. But once he takes his tests, he's gone.
Yes,
everything else is done online. Homework, everything.
Yeah, okay.
Alhamdulillah. That's a ni'mah.
Yeah, of course. But Brother Rami, what another practical step that someone could take? What about involving yourself before you go to college? Make sure you're part of like a practicing community and you have good friends. I mean, that's really important, right?
Absolutely.
That's huge, right?
We were just having this conversation.
Especially over there, or these international
I'll speak about over there more or less. I think it's more important that we speak about it over there. I mean, obviously, as Muslims living in the States, well, I mean, we're the minority. And one of the good things that I've noticed is they have collectively, especially in colleges throughout there. I mean, a friend of mine, there was a college, NJIT, and what happens is on Friday, they would the university itself would give them a room to conduct the Friday prayers, and it would be the students that would prepare the khutbah.
Okay.
And actually give the khutbah and they'd pray as one together. So I mean, these circles do exist, but obviously they're not as prevalent as you'd like them to be. So I mean, you got to search, pretty hard to find them.
Let's take a quick break and get back to that topic because I really like this point. You guys stay tuned for more Let's Talk.
Whispers of Satan, desires, peer pressure, leading you to a dead heart. But there is a way out. Living Hearts.
Welcome back to Let's Talk. We're talking about physical fitness. No, we're talking about physical fitness on campuses, which includes not just campuses in the Western world, but right here in the Muslim world as well. We have to talk about that in a minute. Brother Rami, Brother Abu Abdul Rahman, thank you for joining us. You guys into the audience, I want you guys to get some questions in this segment. Go ahead, brother in the front row there.
Assalamu alaikum. Actually, I'm very happy to be in such a very good place. Hoping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to accept from all of us. And then I want to shed the light on why the separation between men and women. I think both of them are physically different. So our Islamic Sharia, the Prophet ﷺ taught us for a long time of years that we must separate between men and women because they are physically different. While he ﷺ taught us how to teach our children the prayer. He said, learn your child the prayer at the age of 7 and then hit him if he doesn't pray at the age of 10 and then separate between them if they are became older.
Right.
Separate between them, he said, فَرِّقُوا بَيْنَهُمَا فِي الْمَضَاجِعِ. That means separate between them in the place of sleeping because they are physically different.
Yeah.
The body of the man is different than the body of the woman. So they are attracting to each other. So we should, if they want every one of them to concentrate or to make his decision to succeed in his seeking knowledge or such a thing, we must separate between them, because the shaitan will not leave him to concentrate in any information or anything if the girl is sitting beside him or the boy sitting beside the girl. So the point here is that both of them are physically different, so they are attracting to each other.
Of course.
And hoping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for any school or for any faculty to separate between men and women.
Yeah, okay, thank you for your points, brother.
Thank you.
Brother Rami, Brother Abu Rahman, like we said before the break, importance about having a good community. I mean, that's huge, right? I mean,
paramount.
Right, because
if
you surround yourself, if you're living in a co-ed dorm with people of different races and backgrounds and religions, okay, this is all new, you know, it's like a sensory overload, you know, at first. And then you have people doing different things. And if you're a Muslim and you're by yourself and you don't pray regularly at the masjid, you don't have the sheikh's phone number and good Muslim friends, I mean, how long do you think this person will last? Rami, for example.
Oh, not very long. I've heard of people that have come from Egypt themselves, and they were very studious, and they were very good in their deen, and within a few weeks of being out in the West, they did a complete 180.
Right.
So I mean, it happens. I mean, but again, it's a matter, like the brother said before. I mean, you have to have knowledge. I mean, without knowledge, like if I don't know what's right and wrong, sometimes I'll tell myself it's right.
Right.
I'll make it to what's part of being a Muslim. One of the fard is we have to seek knowledge every single day. It's part of our obligation to seek knowledge every day. So, and as human beings, we will try to make everything halal if we can. And that's it. We will convince ourselves of anything,
especially when it appeals to the desires.
Exactly, everything. And the thing is, especially when whether you're in the Middle East or elsewhere, there's a lot of desires that you're going to want to participate in, and you're going to tell yourself anything to make it halal so you can participate in. So when you have that knowledge itself, and you can just you don't have that option anymore.
Yeah, of
you alleviate yourself of that option, and you can no longer commit unknowingly the wrong.
Right.
You don't have that option anymore.
Now you have the rulings established against you if you have the ilm. Before we go to the audience, brother, you had a comment.
The environment plays a huge part in in a person's development and a person's daily doings and going about their business. That's one of the reasons that I left the United States. That's why I left, because I have children. I don't want my children to grow up thinking it's normal to walk down the street with no clothes on, or to drink alcohol, or to listen to crazy rap music, or any of these things that the people in the West are doing right now. I want them to have good morals, good values. I want them to hear the adhan 5 times a day. I remember from my youth things that affect me now. I remember, growing up when I was a kid, all the way, through my teenage years and so on and so forth. These are memories that I still have, and I want my children to always have pure memories. To see the women dressed in hijab, the majority, niqab, the men, dressed in the thobe, and hear the adhan and practicing and things like this. These things stick with you for life.
Yes, Paul, we want to learn from our mistakes and make the next generation better. Excellent point. Thank you, brother, for that comment. Let's go to the audience. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, I just wanted to add up to the practical steps that the Muslim youth can take into consideration to avoid any kind of fitna. And we can, in this regard, we can mention the advice of the Prophet ﷺ when he said that, O young men or O young people, if you have the ability and the capacity to get married, then get married. But if you do not, then observe fasting, because this is indeed a shield against fitna. So I think this is a very practical steps for the youth to take into consideration, alongside with lowering the gaze and only interacting with the opposite sex in the limits and only when necessary, and with full respect and with full appreciation to the opposite gender.
Thank you, brother. The first detail about fasting, before we take this report, in this day and age of consumerism and eating and drinking, that's a hard one, It takes someone really, mashallah, strong to do that. And may Allah help them. You guys, check out this report, you guys. It's a young British Muslim brother, a student, who's talking about you guys being on campus and before going to college, what he did to prepare himself. I thought that was a nice video put together by one of our Syrian volunteers. You guys check it out.
She sees a practicing mu'min. She sees a practicing Muslim and is like, Allah, he's not going to go out with me, he's not even going to talk to me, he's going to palm me off. The girl doesn't even approach you. So this destroys the fitna of the opposite sex straight away. And vice versa with the sister. If she wears hijab, the mu'min, he won't, the Muslim, he won't even come up to the sister. Because she's wearing hijab and he thinks she's practicing. And this is what happens when you act upon Islam and you show your Islam. You should have the mentality that you are Muslim. You should have the identity that you are Muslim. Now what this society does is they push a different identity. They push the identity that you should please man. And that everything you do will be to please man. So your phone will be to please man, to show off. Your garms, your car, everything, your girl even. They take pictures of the girls and they put it on Facebook to impress men.
I really hope you guys enjoyed that video. I like what that young man was saying. He was saying if you are if you are practicing your religion and you have a Muslim identity, you identify yourself as a practicing Muslim, many of the fitnas will go away from you. How many women will approach a man with, if she knows he's a practicing Muslim? How many men will approach a pious girl who appears to be so? So, of course, this is a great piece of advice. I certainly hope you guys enjoyed it and benefited from that. Having said that, we have a special guest via telephone. He's a professor from the American University of Cairo. You have seen him on Tech Talk. He's our esteemed and respected guest, Dr. Baha Saleh. Thank you so much, Doctor. How are you? Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to Let's Talk.
Nice to hear about you, Malik. It's a pleasure to join your program.
Dr. Baha, when we decided to do this topic, fitna on campus, I really thought about you because I know we've had a lot of conversations. You have a lot of experience teaching in the KSA where it was totally separated between the sexes, and you taught via Skype. And now you teach at the AUC where everything is completely mixed. So I just wanted to give you, if you can talk to us a couple minutes and kind of compare and contrast that, if you can. Go ahead, Doctor.
Thank you for giving me the chance for talking about this important and nice topic, Malik. Honestly, if you'd like to talk about the KSA, I have historical information about teaching for different sex or different genders. I started teaching with e-distance or distance learning with the University of Maryland, University College. That's 1990. We teach not different gender, but we're using e-learning because it's not possible to teach on campus. Okay? So you don't see the other side, or you don't see your student, but you teach them through the internet and through the technology, the information technology, the multimedia stuff. But there is a separation between you and the student, and it's acceptable because the case accepts that because he cannot move to your student because they are in the army field, and you cannot go to each separate group. So you teach them through the multimedia.
Okay,
when I go to the KSA, there is no need for making such separation, but I had a previous experience for teaching to the group which I cannot see them, or using the technology for teaching them. That lead me to read about the historical information about are there importance for teaching to the people which you don't see them and there is no need or there is a possibility to see them. If I back again to the United States, and I find that this experience starting 200 years ago, telling that it's not allowed for American women for going to the school. The school is only for men, and the percentage is only about 1 woman from each 10 can get her education. Okay, and we are talking about the United States, but this is 200 years ago. Day after day, they found that the woman is a part of the community, and it is important part, and they're starting teaching or educating the woman. If we're looking to our religion, the first word in our religion is Iqra. The word Iqra is not for men or women. It's for all of us. It's asking us for going for educate ourselves. Okay?
Sure.
So we are before any other nation asking the women or the men for going to education. But are there a need for making this mixed education? This is a big question for us. Yes, we have to educate our women. The religion is not against for educating the women because it's part of our community, but how we can educate the women and protecting her from any other thing. Okay? So, if you ask about the experience, I found very good. And by the way, the new I read about the new paper talk about this mixed education, and they found that now we have to separate between people, the gender on the higher education, and starting now as the United States building this kind of education.
Subhanallah.
Or building this kind of institute.
That's very interesting, Doctor.
Yes, it's amazing. But when we start about the experience, they say that we have to convert the men institute to mixed institute, to be accepting women. And I think that starting at the year of 187, which is say that the 40% of high institute at the United States starting accepting women or female for their education.
Dr. Baha, I certainly appreciate your time. Thank you for those interesting statistics as well. I thought that was very interesting. Dr. Baha Saleh from the AUC in Cairo saying some interesting things about echoing what the brother in the studio audience said, actually, and that is the American curriculum educational system and program is now looking at separating men and women at the highest levels of higher learning, at institutes of higher learning, because it increases focus and academic performance as well. Going back briefly to the video as well that we saw from the young British man, I want to offer my thoughts briefly on that. The brother says, and my experience as well, if women, or if the opposite gender identifies you as someone who is practicing your religion, then most people will respect you and they won't bother you. So I believe it's a matter of self-control and what we have in our hearts. What's in here and what's in here. Like the brother said here, do we have ilm? And what's in our hearts? Are we sincere? So I think, inshallah, if you're equipped with that, then it won't be a problem wherever you are, inshallah. Brothers, before that phone call in the video, Brother Rami was talking about something very interesting topic. He said, marriage. I always say, okay, what's the problem? Get married, right? When you see the college kids mixing the boys and girls, say you like her, you love her, then marry her. No. But it's not that simple, right, Brother Rami? What were you saying?
Not at all. I think, especially in the Middle East, the institution of marriage has been completely destroyed.
Oh, man, it's tough.
And really, I mean, especially in my age, I would love to get married. It would actually alleviate me of a lot of the things that I have to struggle with, and many others, whether it be male or females, that struggle with as well. It's turned into a financial transaction. I mean, now it's more of a tradition. Now these parents are of the I guess of the fiance, I guess of your bride or your future bride are asking for things that, I mean, that just don't even make sense. I mean, as a recent grad or an undergrad, I can't come up with these insane, imaginary numbers.
Yeah. You experience this is true in the Middle East. I mean, subhanAllah, they say, okay, where's, they expect you to have accumulate a lot of wealth and property, and you say, I'm just a graduate. I mean, perhaps we can work together and build up over a relationship, but no, people want it now.
No.
This is, brother, there was a hadith I heard quoted by Dr. Muhammad Salah, maybe Brother Akhmi knows this hadith in the studio audience, regarding when people make marriage difficult, then bad things will become prevalent. Is that right? I believe I heard Dr. Muhammad Salah ask her to quote this hadith.
Yes. The Prophet ﷺ said, إن جاءكم من ترضون دينه وخلقه فزوجوه إلا تفعلوا تكن فتنة في الأرض وفساد كبير. That means in English, O you fathers of the girls, if somebody or a young man came to marry your daughter and you find him صاحب دين, a religious man, he has deen, religion in himself, he is a respected man, you must agree to let him marry your daughter. If you don't do that, you are participating in making fitna in your society. That is the main point in our topic, the fitna of men.
And this is what we're seeing, this is what's happening. Yes. Like, brother, subhanAllah, everything is going well. There's no reason why you shouldn't be married, but because the culture here in the Middle East, we can say, has made that so difficult. This is the result. How many women do you know, perhaps in men in their 40s, they're not married? Why?
Absolutely.
There's no reason for them not to be married.
Exactly, but again, a lot of these engagements are broken off because families are just asking for things above their financial, their financial means. So it's gotten to a point, I mean, now, when I speak to my friends or people who are, people, even just acquaintances, they want to get married, but they've taken the idea and they just shunned it because it just doesn't seem practical anymore.
Right.
I mean, as a recent graduate, you can't afford the numbers that they're asking for.
Yeah, of course. And coming from the United States, go ahead, brother.
That's something that's very, very big for, especially for the people who are young that live in Muslim countries and they go to the United States. You should marry them off before they go, because if you don't, everything is going to be waiting for them that their desires call them to.
Yeah, right. Of course.
You need to protect them by way of marriage.
Of course, that's a great. And how many, subhanAllah, look at us before we're Muslims or perhaps non-Muslims, many of them in the Western world, they're not interested, they don't want to get married. They have the means, but they don't want to get married. They have a girlfriend, they don't feel the need to do that. Whereas we have good, decent Muslim people who want to get married, but they can't because of society, subhanAllah. So may Allah make it easy for everyone to get married. You guys stay tuned for more Let's Talk. We'll be right back after a short break.
Islam is a comprehensive way of life. It deals with everything. The Prophet ﷺ wanted to empower people, and he wanted them to feel the responsibility, not just to rely on the state. The companions radiallahu ta'ala anhum, and in particular Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, in the beginning they were not pleased and they were not proud to become the Khalifa. These days we see the candidates running to become the Amirs. Islamic State has to provide all inhabitants with the basic needs. It has to fulfill their basic needs. One of the main foundations of the Islamic State is to establish justice.
Welcome back to Let's Talk. We're talking about physical fitna, not physical fitness, physical fitna on campus. You guys, interesting topic that we didn't discuss. I want to discuss it now in the third segment and bring in our guests in the studio audience as well. How much of society is to blame for this? I mean, let's take a look at this. A young Muslim woman, she would like to get married. She feels the pressure of society to get married. Of course, the men now are not looking at women wearing niqab or proper hijab. They're not. Many men aren't. The men are looking at women with perfume and makeup and who are dressing sexy and who are interacting with men. So now the good Muslim woman has the pressure of trying to compete with that in order to get the boys' attention. So many more Muslim women now go astray, and young Muslim women especially, I think, on college campuses because of social pressure. So I mean, how can they avoid that?
With the women, I think that they need to understand they don't want the man who wants the women with the perfume.
Yeah, and the man doesn't want the girl.
And the man shouldn't want the woman who's wearing the perfume in the
sexy clothing.
Yes, you shouldn't want that anyway. So if one like that passes you by, and you know that was good for you, alhamdulillah.
Yeah, alhamdulillah. Yeah, really.
You know, I think that you know, as parents, we need to instill what's correct in our in our children, and I think that's something that they will carry, you know, on out the door. You know, once you're not around, once they're older, they're on the university campuses, you need to first instill in them what's correct. One thing that I think that needs to be taught to the majority of the people still is Tawheed. The people don't understand Tawheed. They don't understand Tawheed. They don't understand the implementation, how to implement Tawheed. A lot of us know this word, but don't understand implementation of it. And I think that's a huge problem.
Huge topic as well.
That's a whole different topic, though.
Yeah, SubhanAllah.
No.
Brother Rami, what do you think? Is the fitna worse for the young Muslim females or young Muslim men? Who's more at risk here?
I don't want to do the double standard, but I think female, women are more at risk. Obviously, I mean, they have certain things that they can never, once it's gone, they can never, get back, which is, especially in the Muslim world, it's very frowned upon. And unfortunately, we see it as not unfortunately, it's the truth, but I mean, we see it as damaged goods, and and then it becomes unacceptable to a lot of Muslim brothers.
Right.
So my thing is this. I mean, honestly, personally, if I see I don't want my wife to be eye candy to anyone else.
Yeah, that's
exactly. Any girl I see wearing clothes that are based on Islamic principle, that's the girl that I want. Yeah. And the thing is, actually, somebody with that perception, it's actually hard to find that nowadays, because what I've noticed is a lot of the girls that were wearing hijab or abayat, now they're
it's worse than
it's not even that. Now they take it off and they westernize their attires to meet to society's demands or what the men want to see them wearing. Right. So you find the girl one day wearing a hijab, next day wearing a miniskirt, and that's just the end of it. She's not going back to it.
Yeah, right. I've heard Dr. Salah say, trust me, like you said, brother. He said, you don't want that girl wearing those sexy clothing because she's not going to raise your kids. That's not the one you want. And of course, the women are at risk. Why? Especially in the West. Why? Because they're going to fall victim, get into something with maybe even a Muslim man or any non-Muslim man, anybody who's not committed to her. She's going to listen to his talk, and he loves blah blah. Then she's going to do something that she's going to regret forever, and she's never going to be able to get married again. And that's what they have to realize. Exactly. That's what they have to realize. Let's go to the studio audience, brothers. Go ahead, Billy. How are you doing over there, man? What are your thoughts?
Just a little comment about this subject we are talking about. I think it all goes back to the upbringing. So the child, boy or girl, if he learn about his deen, about Islam, if it's Islamic upbringing, so he will learn about Tawheed, he will learn how to implant Tawheed. When he goes up, he can defend himself against any other fitna he will fight. Going to the campus right now, I think it's like a battlefield for Muslims. You find all kinds of fitna. You find women, you find drugs, you find smoking, you find anything, many things, not just women, not just gender. It's many things, many problems you find there.
Yeah, subhanAllah. That's a great point.
Yeah. One thing, about like last week or something, maybe more, I've been to the university, one university. I find the student coming to the first year of their school, undergraduate, girls wearing all makeup. What? It's like going to nightclub.
Yeah, it's like going to the nightclub. I know. I drive by a couple of universities on the way to work, and I see that as well. So may Allah help all the brothers there. We do have a phone call from a sister from the United States of America to give us really the female perspective about what the challenges and obstacles that they are facing, which are enormous, because I always say the Muslim woman is really, really under attack from all perspectives in the United States and the Western world particularly. So assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Welcome, Sister Rana from the USA. Thank you so much for your call.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thank you for having me.
Hey, no problem, sister. We really want you to give your perspective about the situation for Muslim females on university campuses in the United States.
Okay, I will probably say that the biggest problem that I've seen lots and lots of girls facing and falling into is the relationships with boys once they enter the college. A lot of boys and girls from the first year of college, they start on a relationship. It can just start by chatting online at first, and then after that it becomes much more like phone calls or meeting in person and such. Their intention is usually marriage, but obviously since they're both young, they say we'll wait till we're done with school, we'll keep in touch, and then as soon as the boy graduates, he's going to go and speak to the parents. And that usually lasts about 4 or 5 years. And usually when the boy does graduate, it ends and he does not keep his promise, and the girl is heartbroken. And I've seen about 90% of those relationships end this way. And even the ones that continue, obviously there's no barakah. There's no blessing from Allah because they started it on the wrong foot.
SubhanAllah. That's an excellent point. So what is this is a really big problem as you have described it very clearly. So what is the preventative measure? Surely there has to be a solution to stop this from happening. What is that solution?
I would probably say that girls need to know that marriage is nasib. A lot of girls, especially overseas, they think that because there's not that much Muslims around or not people from their country, they say, I'm never going to get married. So they start with any kind of relationship, even if it's haram. So I would probably say that the biggest solution is that they have to know that marriage is nasib, and wherever they are, their nasib is going to come to them, inshallah, at the right time. And they have to start marriage on the right foot so that Allah would continue to bless them for the rest of their lives, inshallah.
Yeah, thank you so much for that phone call. I really appreciate your comments. Thank you so much, Sister Rana from the United States of America. I think that's a great point. Don't start something haram because then it's going to be devoid of any blessing, right? So I think the point goes back to staying within the parameters that Allah has set for us, isn't it?
Absolutely. One of the things that I feel also needs to be cultivated is having a healthy fear of Allah. You understand? By having a healthy fear of Allah, it'll help you to avoid, certain situations. Although your desires may be calling you to that, it's wrong, and that there's a penalty for it. If not now, later. And it helps you to avoid situations that are not good for you. There's many things in the religion that, if implemented, will make your life so much easier. Like I was telling the brother here, in the States, in America, everything that's bad, they make it good. The things that are good, they make it bad. if you're young and you tell your parents you want to get married, the neighbors are going to look at you like you're crazy if you're 17 or 18 years old. How would you let your daughter marry at such a young age? She needs to have boyfriends and live with them and go have fun. And this is the mentality of the people, you know. And obviously we know that this is incorrect.
Yes.
You know, by sticking to the Quran and the Sunnah, that's going to protect us. It's going to protect our children. It's going to make the society as a whole what it should be. It'll be good. It'll be peaceful. The people will have morality and alhamdulillah.
Yeah, even sometimes if you're 14, 15, they say, what's wrong with your son? He doesn't have a girlfriend yet. Something wrong with him? As if it's, subhanAllah. No. But may Allah guide help everybody. Brother Rami, you know what Osama Shami, a friend of mine, once said to me? He said, you know what, brother, if you leave something haram, Allah inshallah will replace it with something better. Do you know this is a hadith or ayah? Or?
Yes, this is a very good comment of one of our Islamic scholars. He said, من ترك شيئا في الحرام أبدله الله خير منه في الحلال. Whomsoever left something haram for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah will make it easy for him to find happiness in that thing that he thought that it's hard.
And that's a good message for the Muslim people that are watching who perhaps they're involved in bad behavior. Hey, look, everybody makes mistakes in life. You're still Muslim. You don't have to throw everything away now. You can try to rectify it, inshallah. We have a video. It's from our Sheikh and Imam Kareem Abu Zaid. It's a program he does where he answers questions from callers. A sister calls him and she asks him about mixing in college campuses. I chose this clip because he says, no, it's wrong. It's bad to mix. However, he admits that it happens and it's difficult to deal with, so it's challenging. So that's why I wanted to bring this clip. You guys check it out.
In principle, our sister is talking about the mixture of gender in Islam. In principle, we must strive to place a barrier between the two genders. Don't even entertain, unless you have to, unless there is obligation for it. Listen, when the Prophet ﷺ spoke about women going to the masjid and praying, he said to them, the best place for women to pray is at their homes. All right? And we're talking about prayers here. The Prophet ﷺ identified a certain exit for them in the masjid, where women go out of the masjid and into the masjid. In principle, we should not entertain ikhtilat, which is the mixture of gender, the mixing of gender, the mixing, right, not the mixture, the mixing of gender in the masjid or any facility, unless we have to. Sister Rayhana, just hang in there. Hang in there. Sister Rayhana, when Prophet Musa alayhi salam went to Madian and he arrived at the scene, ولما ورد ماء مدين وجد عليه أمة من الناس يسقون وجد من دونهما امرأتين تذودان. When he arrived at a place where people are watering their flocks, he found all these men, the shepherd men, the male shepherds, are watering their flocks. ووجد من دونهما امرأتين تذودان. And he saw two women are taking the side. قال ما خطبكما. This is from the time of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salam. ما خطبكما. What is wrong with you? قالتا لا نسقي حتى يصدر الرعاء وأبونا شيخ كبير. Listen, we're not going to go water our flocks now because we don't want to mix with these men. Banning mixing of genders is in principle an Islamic tradition. But I understand that it is impossible sometimes to maintain it. But I should not voluntarily allow it to happen, especially if I'm having an Islamic function where I can dictate what happens. I mean, if a sister goes to college, or if a brother goes to college, there is no way you're going to, public schools, there is no way in the world you can do this. But in our organizations, you need to do this. And it's not because, and this is important to understand, it's not because that we're thinking everybody's wicked here and we're, no. Listen. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا الزِّنَا. You see, الاختلاط, the mixing of genders, a woman traveling by herself, lowering the gaze, all right? And all these things, lowering the gaze and seeking permission to enter into the house of another person before you enter. All of these are called سَدًّا لِذَرِيعَةِ الزِّنَا. in order to block any means that can initiate adultery. Adultery begins with a look. That is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He says, قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُم. Subhanallah, tell the believing men to lower their gaze and to guard their chastity, their private parts. There is no way in the world that you look at a person and then you go and commit adultery with that person. There is a process in between, but the whole thing began with what? With the look. Now, you're having genders mixing. For sure, a look is going to happen here and there, and you're trying to stop this from happening.
Kareem Abu Zaid, I certainly hope you appreciate that comment. I really like that because you were just really explaining the situation, how difficult it is. Brothers, you went to Ohio State, 70% females. Is that what the number is?
No, that was him.
Back in Jersey?
Back in Jersey, exactly.
No.
Okay, Jersey, 70% females?
30% males.
30%, okay. And Ohio State, I guess it already says enough. I mean, it's a big football school, a big party school.
Big.
Yeah, one of the biggest ones in the nation.
No.
Of course, I was at UCLA. That says enough, LA.
Yeah.
But you know, the important thing, brothers, my dear brothers and my dear viewers and you guys in the audience, is it's what's here and what's in here, you know. You have to be strong and walk on the hawk no matter where you are. We are Muslims, and we have to have self-control. Your thoughts?
Yes, this is the golden rule here. As long as you know that you have Allah the Almighty on your side, then there is nothing that you have to fear. You put your trust in Allah the Almighty, and you do your best, and you observe the Islamic parameters set by Allah for us, and I'm sure everything will be in line.
All right. Brother Ahmed Basuni, one point that we didn't mention that could help this is practicing the sunnah. What happened to the brothers taking more than one wife? Well, we were talking about it's already hard to get married to one, so how are we going to get married to more? But this is also a solution, isn't it?
Yes. I have an advice for the parents. Make it easy for youth to find a marriage easily. But don't make it hard for them, bringing a flat the way like that, paint it like that, and make it easy for them. And when they start their life, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if they start with the good intention of having good family and good children, Allah will make it easy for them to find money easily and find things like that. But my advice to everyone, again I will repeat the same sentence that I've said, that you remember me with it. من ترك شيئا في الحرام أبدله الله خير منه في الحلال. If you leave something that you know that it is haram for the sake of Allah, Allah will make you happy inside your head, that you refer here in your heart. You will find happiness in your heart because you left something haram. And I have a story for one of my very, very close friends. He had a relationship with a girl at the time of university, and after many years of having a love story, a very big love story, full of problems, wallahi, that's a reality. After marriage, they married for 1, 2, 3 years. After 3 years of marriage, he said to me, sincerely, Ahmed, I don't feel happy inside myself by marrying this woman.
Subhanallah.
I say, Subhanallah. If you left the haram thing for the sake of Allah, Allah will give you happiness with the good wife for yourself. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You guys, we're out of time for this episode. However, I would like to bring you back. This is actually just part one of our two-part series. This is Physical Fitna on Campus. Next up, next week, inshallah, we're going to have intellectual fitna. We want to talk about philosophy, atheism, different ideologies attacking the Muslim psyche of the Muslim student. Are you with me, Brother Rami, next week, inshallah?
Yeah, inshallah.
All right, can you stick around as well for another episode?
Yeah.
All right, you guys, certainly appreciate your time. You guys at home, I certainly hope you benefited from this episode of Let's Talk. You guys always send me your comments, your information, your feedback at paul@hood.tv as well as Facebook, and you know the contact information. Having said that, stay tuned for next week. We're going to do part 2 of this series. This was Physical Fitness on Campus, rather Physical Fitna. Next week is coming up Intellectual Fitness, so stay tuned.
When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when things go wrong, as they sometimes will, when the road you're trudging seems all uphill, when the funds are low and the dips are high, and you want to smile but have to sigh, when care is pressing you Rest if you must, but do not ever quit. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and clear the clouds of doubt. Success is a failure turned inside out. Let's talk and